and I will decode the room 237 for you.
Awesome. Yeah, Vance is he's gonna take us through the labyrinth. I'm gonna step out for just 1 second. Vance,
Yep.
take us through the maze.
All righty, here we go.
So, the tree of life and the moon. Next slide. So you have the tree of life in Kabbalah, one of the most important symbols in esoteric lore. But you also have the tree of Clifford, and the tree of Clifford is the other side of the tree of life. It's the shadow side of the tree of life. And it is also called the other side of the tree of life, Sitra Ara, the shallow side of the tree of life, or the other side of matter. Tree of knowledge is also one name for it. In the Bible, they mention it as the tree of knowledge in Genesis. So this is two trees. So you have the moon room 237, and I agree that it is a connection between the moon and the room. But it's not the physical moon Kubrick are talking about. But it is about 238,000 miles to the moon. And some say during the time Kubrick did the movie The Shining, they thought it was 237 miles to the moon from the Earth. So I think he wanted to point to the moon, but he didn't want to point to the physical moon as such. Yeah, next slide. So you have the tree of life and the tree of Clifford. And in tree of life, we have something we call Sephiroths. And the Sephiroth number 9 is the moon. You can see it in the picture if you watch the stream. And it is purple, and you have a moon and the number 9 in it. On the other side, on the tree of Clifford, and that's the other side of the Sephiroth 9, you have the Cliffa called on the tree of Clifford. You have Gamaliel, the obscene one. That's the shadow side of the moon, the metaphysical side of the moon. So you have number 9 and equals the moon room. Yesod 9 is the Sephira. On the other side, it is the Cliffa number 9, Gamaliel, the obscene one, the dark side of the moon. So Kubrick wanted to point out that the Sephira number 9, Yesod, is the moon room. That's the moon. Next slide. The hexagram and Saturn. So you have the properties of Saturn, and I think many knows this. But the properties of Saturn in esoteric lore, you have, it stands for matter. Our world of illusions becomes solid matter. Lead, masculine, control, time, scheduler, restrictions, and intellect. That's traits or properties of Saturn. They contribute to the planet Saturn, or the sun Saturn. Some say it's the sun. Next slide. And Saturn is, next slide. Another symbol for Saturn is the hexagon, the six-sided symbol, or hexagram. And you have the carpet where Danny is sitting on a hexagon. And in the carpet, you see the cube of Saturn. the red cube. And that's the symbol of matter. Danny is sitting on the carpet matter. He's sitting on the Saturn's cube. Next slide. So Saturn's cube, the black cube, trapped in matter in time. Danny is playing in matter on the carpet. Yeah, next slide. And I think many knows that Saturn have a hexagon on its pole.
I did not know that.
Okay.
I learned something new, a hexagon.
So you have the hexagon on Saturn. And the hexagon forms a cube if you draw lines from it. So you have the cube of Saturn, the black cube. And you will see it in some main cities around the planet, the black cube. And that it's about the black cube of Saturn and matter, to trap you into matter, to make you ignorant of metaphysical matters, trap you in time.
That's the demiurge's job.
Exactly. There you have him. So in Lurianic Kabbalah and Kabbalah in general, you have Asaya. We call Asaya the word of matter. So everything you can register, all your five senses take in is Asaya. And it creates the illusion of matter. So Asaya is matter, and the force filling Asaya is Malkuth. It's the light, the force, the energy that fills up our world, that creates our illusion of materiality. And that's Sephira number 10. And Malkuth, but the word is Asaya. Word of matter, we call Asaya. Yeah, next slide. So Danny is playing in Asaya, the word of matter, on the carpet, on Saturn's cube or Saturn hexagon. The pentagram and Venus.
Part 3. Let's get it on. All right.
Yeah. Now we come to the pentagram and Venus. And a pentagram have 5 sides. And a hexagon have 6 sides. And the pentagram is referent to Venus. And the hexagram, Saturn, and also matter. Because Saturn creates matter. Trap us in time, trap us in the black cube. To restrain us, to hold us back from the metaphysical, from transforming, from go through matter to the metaphysical. So we are trapped in time. Doesn't mean that Saturn is a bad planet. It is here to teach us a lesson and transform us, so we start to transform ourselves. Yeah, next slide. So a ball is coming, and the ball is red. And the ball is not the moon, but Venus. Next slide.
So Danny's playing with his train. The ball comes. He's playing with the ball, and that's Venus. Okay.
Yeah. And he's looking up from his play, this game. Now we have simple numerology and a lot of esoteric methods and very important part of esoteric lore. And you have the penta and you have the hexagram equals 11. 5 plus 6 equals 11.
Right.
But it's much more than that. Thelema knows that abrahadabra equals 11. And abrahadabra is the magic force, the magic word. And abrahadabra is the key of the rituals because it expresses the magic formula of uniting various complementary ideas, especially the 5 of the microcosm with the 6 of the macrocosm. Abrahadabra is the glyph of the blending of the 5 and the 6. Abrahadabra is also referred to as the word of double power. More specifically, it represents uniting of the microcosm with the macrocosm, represented by the pentagram and the hexagram, the rose and the cross, the circle and the square, the 5 and the 6, etc. And abrahadabra has 11 letters, and it is the magic force in and of itself. And if you apply gematria on it, it's not really gematria yet, but numerology and the Chaldean gematria or numerology, you got number that it equals 22, and 22 is the path on the tree of life and the tree of Qliphotts. Mm-hmm. It is the connection between the Sephiroths or the Qliphotts. 22 path on the tree, and you have 22 in the major arcana of the tarot cards. So it's a very important number. 11 is a very important number. Abrahadabra is very important in Thelema. And Thelema is an esoteric practice not started by Crowley, but he's one who people are thinking of when talking about Thelema. And Otto and yeah.
Yeah. Fascinating.
So this is a very important. So now you have abrahadabra equals 11. 11 letters, the magic force. Microcosm with the macrocosm, represented by the pentagram and the hexagram, the rose and the cross, the circle and the square, the 5 and the 6. And Danny has Apollo 11 on his shirt. So Danny has unlocked the moon room through the magic force by uniting the 5 and the 6. He's rising up, and this is maybe the most famous scene. I don't know. Maybe the naked lady. I don't know.
Oh my God. I snuck into the movie theater when I was 10 to watch The Shining. That scene traumatized me even today.
I imagine. So we have the part 4, the travel to the other side.
The other side.
So now we are going to the other side.
All right, let's go to the other side.
Let's go to the other side. So you have the tree of life, and you have Sephira number 10. And as I mentioned before, it's Malkuth or Asaya. On the other side of the tree, you have number 10, but Qliphott number 10. And it's called Lilith, the queen of the night. And that's the other side of the tree. The other side of the tree of life, the shadow side. And I want to mention Lilith, the queen of the night, the ruling force. Next slide. So Danny is playing on a hexagon, and a ball is coming. Yeah, next slide. And as I mentioned before, it's Venus and a pentagram. And now you have a sigil. A sigil is a symbol, and the symbol for the Cliffa number 10, Lilith. And the sigil looks like a pentagram, upside down pentagram, and you have 3 moons, an upside down triangle. That's the sigil of the Cliffa Lilith. Next slide. So you have the pentagram, 3 moons. The Cliffa is Lilith, and Lilith is the ruling force. Next slide. So you have the magic formula. Danny is going up. He's unlocked the moon room, and now he's going to the other side of the tree, to the cliphotic tree, the shallow side, the Citra Ara, through the magic, with the magic force, and with the number 11 on his chart. 5 plus 6 equals 11. And someone might mention why Apollo. Of course, there are reasons there as well. I will come to that later on. But for now, focus on the number 11 and Danny's journey to the other side of the tree, the cliphotic tree, through a path called Tantrifaxat. And I will come to that now. So we know that Danny is on his way to the moon room. To the tree, on the tree of life, you had Sephira number 9, called Yesod. And you have a moon symbol under the number 9 on that Sephira. Sephira Yesod number 9, moon room. On the other side, you have Gamaliel, the obscene one. And that's the other side of the tree of life, the dark tree, the tree of Cliffot. Next slide. So Malkut, Sephira number 10, material word, also called kingdom, is the material word Saturn, corridor. And you have the corridor 2 room 237 is the 32nd path on the tree. And that's the path, that's the corridor Danny is in. And he is traveling to the other side of the tree of life, to the other side, and to the cliffots, to the dark side of the tree. Yeah, next slide. One more.
One more, okay.
One more. There.
That's it.
Yeah, good. So you have the corridor, and it's the 32nd path, and it's called Tantrifaxat in the left-hand path. The tunnel of Tantrifaxat connects the lower cliphotic realm, Lilith, with the astral realm of Gamaliel, transmitting the astral energies of the dark moon to Earth, representing the unity of microcosm and macrocosm. When we come to the end, we find Saturn waiting patiently. This is the path that corresponds to the tarot card, the universe. The tunnel is Tantrifaxat, 32nd path, the beginning and the end of the journey. So Danny is traveling or going through Tantrifaxat. And I want to mention one more thing. Number 11 is called the twins in esoteric traditions because the number consists of 2 ones. 1 plus 1 becomes 2. 11 equals 1 plus 1 equals 2. Twins. abrahadabra. And you have 10 cliffots on the tree, on the dark side of the tree, on the dark cliffotic tree, the shadow tree. But you also have one secret sephira called Dot. And it exists between Thagirion number 6, the sun room, and Tamiel number 1, the last cliffot. So you have 11 cliffots, 10 plus 1, one secret cliffot, equals 11 abrahadabra. The term cliffot or cliffot is used to represent the manifestation of evil or impure spiritual forces in Jewish mysticism. And they say, of course, if you're a Lurianic Kabbalist, they say don't work with these forces because that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You should work with the tree of life. Don't think about the other side. Don't work with these forces or don't connect yourself with these forces. So they used to say the tree of life exists. There are 10 sephirots on the tree of life, not 11, not 9, but 10. But if you're a left-hand practitioner, that's exactly where you want to go, to work with these forces. That's the purpose with the left-hand path. Yeah, so part 5, Lilith. Short and concise.
Let's get to the femme fatale of the occult.
Yeah. Exactly. So you have Danny, number 11, abrahadabra, the magic formula. And he is unlocked the moon room and he's walking through the Tantrifaxat, path 32 on the tree. And Danny is going up against the evil or impure spirit forces on the other side, the cliffotic forces, the dark forces on the other side. And 5 plus 6, a hexagram, and the pentagram equals 11. And 11 is on Danny's shirt. Next. So Danny enters the moon room, and that's number 9. And he is on the other side of the tree of life, on the cliffotic tree, on the shadow tree. This sphere is ruled by Lilith in her aspect of the harlot or Eshet Senunim. And that's the moon room. And Danny is confronting Lilith. First encounter in ancient Sumerian lore, she is shown naked in her oldest depictions, with prominent breast and unbound hair, symbolizing her untamed sexual forces. In medieval legends, she appeared as a serpent in the Garden of Eden, tempting the first human couple to taste the fruit from the tree of knowledge. And the tree of knowledge is the same as a cliffotic tree, or the shadow side of the tree of life. Danny is going up against Lilith, because Lilith is on the other side of the moon, the dark side of the moon, the cliffot 9, the moon room. Next slide. This where, there goes on. And in Jungian psychology, she represents Anima, the dark unconscious part of the self. Jung believed they are the abstract symbol sets that formulate the archetype of the self. So Danny is also going up against the shadow side of the human psyche. But I want to mention that in the left-hand path, this forces is more than just the shadow side of humanity. In the left-hand path, these spirits are very real. The next slide. So you have Jack also encounter this room. Jack is also going into this moon room later on in the movie, and he engaged with this lady, Lilith. Next slide. Lilith is a famous character there are hardly any magician that would not have heard of her. She left the Garden of Eden to live in the desert land by the Red Sea, where she mated with Samael. And Samael is a very famous demon or fallen angel. Samael is maybe with Lilith the most famous ones. And I have highlighted the Red Sea and Samael here, of course. Remember the Red Sea. Next slide. So Jack is also Samael and Asmodeus. Both these forces within one person. Samael and Asmodeus Jack is based on these two demon forces, possessed or manifest them in physical form. Next slide. Often called the mother of demons, queen of vampires, mother of prostitution and fornications. And we are talking about Lilith here, of course. That is attributes given to Lilith, the dark feminine. Yeah, next slide. So I have the prostitution and fornication, and know that Jack and Lilith can very follow each other here.
Yeah, he just walks into the bathroom and starts making out with her. I never understood that as a kid.
It's a very strange scene.
Yeah. Very, very dreamlike.
Yeah, but now it makes sense because
yes, now it makes perfect sense.
Prostitution and fornication is attributed to Lilith. Yeah, next slide. Queen of the night, slayer of children, and enemy of procreation, goddess of the moon and blood-drinking vampire. And I have highlighted slayer of children because we know that Danny is attacked by her.
Right.
Slayer of children, Danny is attacked by Lilith because he confronts her in the moon room. And I will come back to that later on again. There are also legends in which Lilith is believed to be the original moon that radiated with its own force and refused to yield to the sun. So you have here another connection to the moon. That's the reason why I've highlighted it. Because we are in the moon room on the other side, the dark side of the moon. The cliff on number 9, Gamaliel, the obscene ones. And here Danny confronts Lilith in her aspect of the harlot, or Eichet Senunim. Next slide. So Lilith is the original moon, and you have the moon room 237. And I think I have shown showed beyond any reasonable doubt that it is Lilith in the moon room. And that is the force Danny is up against on the other side of the tree of life. Danny has entered the dark side of the tree, the cliphotic tree. In one of the scenes, we see Jack sleeping, leaning over a table. And we are still in this cliffa number 9, Gamaliel, obscene ones. And the easiest way to experience the energy of Gamaliel is through dreams, visual and astral journeys. This is an astral sphere existing close to the material plane. During sleep, we leave physical bodies and float onto the astral plane spontaneously. And that is exactly what Jack is doing. So it's not just a dream. Jack is ending up on the other side of the tree of life through a dreaming state. Next. While traveling through the tunnel of Tantri Faksat number 32, the path between the realm of Lilith and Gamaliel, we often experience vision of a cave with blood-stained walls, blood-red river, or scarlet moon dripping blood. She left the Garden of Eden to live in the desert land by the Red Sea, where she mated with Samael. And we have this famous scene with the with the doors and the blood, the elevator scene.
Right.
So you have the cave as a womb of the Luna goddess. It's also the vessel that carries her sacred fluids. It is the scarlet blood of the moon, the amniotic fluid, and the sexual moisture of the female. So there you have the elevator red river blood gushing out of the opening of the doors. Also a very famous scene in the movie, of course. Many famous scenes in this movie, I think.
Yes, indeed.
Here, we take the next one. Lilith, she rose into the air. This is from the Old Testament, I mentioned. She rose into the air with fury, screaming the secret name of God, and flew away to settle on the shore of the Red Sea, the mythical land of Semergad. In return, the angel left her alone, and she became the queen of Semergad and the mother of all demonic spirits on the earth from that moment until the present day, room 237, because we have more demonic forces in this hotel, as we know, in the gold room or the sun room. Yeah, next slide. Lilith and Asmodeus. According to Hebraic lore, Asmodeus is the king of demons, or a being of wrath. He is also said to correspond to lust from the list of the 7 deadly sins. Interesting enough, it is also said that he is now here on earth after being contained to hell for several million years. You have always been the caretaker. In the Zoroastrian Ashema, he is known as a demon of wrath. Asmodeus, as he is today, is both wrath and lust. And I have highlighted, you have always been the caretaker, because millions of years is a long time.
Yeah. A bit.
Next slide. So he is also said to correspond to lust from the list of the 7 deadly sins. And you have this famous scene in the movie where a man is with a strange creature or man with a costume. And that corresponds to Asmodeus.
So that the man in the furry, he's a symbol of Asmodeus.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you can say that. Yes, the bestiality and then the wrath.
The wrath.
And,
yeah.
And there are more things going on, but we leave it for now. Yeah. Lilith and Asmodeus. Let us begin with the relationship with young Lilith. No age is given to Asmodeus, which is the first mystery we encounter. By having a difference in the ages, we see that the message being conveyed is one of lust knowing no age boundaries. As you can see, psychologically, this opened the door to pedophilia and the other related subjects. Lilith became the lover of Asmodeus in the early Middle Ages, mostly through the Jewish folk tradition. And
she broke up with Samael. She dumped Samael for Asmodeus.
Maybe. I don't want to go too deep into this, but many have pointed out the connection with pedophilia and very dark matters like that, and there are a connection there. But I don't want to go too deep into that.
For another time.
For another time, if you want to, but that's a very dark matter. Yeah. Part 6. The Eternal Dance Macabre. Sorry. The Eternal Dance Macabre and the Ghosts in the Gold Room. And this is also a very famous one, of course. And it's in the Gold Room and in the bathroom. And the man is saying, "I'm sorry to differ with you, sir, but you are the caretaker. You have always been the caretaker. I should know, sir. I've always been here." Yeah. So the Eternal Dance Macabre and the Ghosts in the Gold Room. And as I mentioned, he's saying, "I should know, sir. I've always been here in hell." Interesting enough, it is also said that he, Asmodeus, is now here on earth after being contained to hell for several million years. You have always been the caretaker, because millions of years is a very long time. And Jack has two sides, is Samael and Asmodeus in one person. And that's the first and the second part of the presentation.
Awesome. Shall we take a break and regroup on May 23rd?
Yeah, what do you think, Miguel?
Yeah, I'm fine. If you want, do you think, what are we missing? We got one more part or how much longer?
One more part.
Let's do it. Let's just do it all at once. Is your voice okay to do this, David?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, if your voice can handle, let's go all the way. You want?
Have
ready,
the audience
Vance?
gone to sleep, or are they with us?
No, this is fascinating. Definitely lively in the chat room.
Yeah, I want to hear the exciting conclusion.
Yeah, the climax. Let's do it.
We haven't even gotten to the maze, right? We didn't talk about the maze.
I'm up for it. Let's do it.
If your voice can
Let's
handle
go to the Gold Room.
No blood is coming out of our closets.
Have to shut all the doors here. Yeah, the third part then, The Shining. The devil is in the details. It's the name of the chapter. Lilith, queen of the night, slayer of children and enemy of procreation, goddess of the moon and blood-drinking vampire. And we know that Danny has been attacked. He's coming at Wendy with his shirt all torn up and with bruise on his neck. But we can do better than that, because she's also known as, next slide, the strangler of children and the source of all evil and pollution in the world. And if you have watched the movie many times, you will know this line in the next slide. Because between 1 hour, 9 minutes and 15 seconds to 1 hour, 9 minutes and 22 minutes in the long version, the American version, there is someone else in the hotel with us, says Wendy. There is a crazy woman in one of the rooms. She tried to strangle Danny. And Lilith is the strangler of children and the source of all evil and pollution in the world. So that's a very, very detailed fact that points to Lilith. Next slide. Now then, about the moon. I will talk a little bit about the moon, because of course there's a reason why Danny has the rocket on the Apollo rocket on the shirt. And some believe that Kubrick was into this faking of the moon landing. I think he knew a lot about it because of his esoteric interest and because his skills as a filmmaker. And maybe he was a consultant to NASA or something, because they wanted to fake a moon landing movie. I don't know how much he was into it. I have no clue. But there are things I want to point out with the moon landing. And that's the fact that there were many esoteric, or some esoteric groups involved in the moon landing effort. You have OTO member Jack Parson, and he was a rocket engineer and a student of Aleister Crowley. And Aleister Crowley was not really left-hand path. Thelema was their esoteric, and OTO was another strand of it. But it was based on left-hand path. I think it was based on Mithra worship and more than that, but some of it came from it. And he was also a sexual magic practitioner. And the narrative of the movie is based quite heavily on his teachings. And you have this Parson character who helped NASA to the moon through technology. And I want to point this out. I'm not into the crowd that think Crowley is the devil himself. First off, Crowley didn't help NASA to the moon. It was Jack Parson through technology. Crowley never talked about technology as such, because now we are taking the esoteric practices and add technology to it. And you come to transhumanism and merging man with machine and so on. And Crowley never mentioned that. What I know, I don't know everything, but I never heard him doing it. And I have studied his teaching quite heavily. But Parson did it. And he used technology in his esoteric practices. And we knew also that Freemason was involved in the moon landing. And we also know that some Nazis was involved.
Definitely.
Former Nazis. Werner von Braun. And he was probably involved in an esoteric organization called Svarte Sonne. The Black Sun. So it was an esoteric effort to take us to the moon. And I mentioned I was studying JFK when I wake up from a slumber. I thought, what is this? I watched the movie, Oliver Stone's movie, FK, of course, and I was like hooked. So it is a connection here, and it is through Crowley's teaching, Jack Parson, and NASA, through transhumanism, technology merging with esoteric practices. And if you come to technology, very advanced technology, technology that can bend the Saya, this material world of ours, to take us to the metaphysical. And UFO technology can do it, create holes in the fabric of a Saya and go through a hole to the other side. And pop up, of course, in a Saya again. And I think that Kubrick knew that NASA's effort didn't cut it. They faked it. They didn't want to share the technology that really took them to the moon with humanity. So they have to fake it. And JFK, he knew they had technology that could take us to the moon. So he dared them when he said, I want to take us to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
He speak to the audience, to the mainstream, and the esoteric technology freaks he knew had this technology. And what he's saying is, I know you have this technology, but I want you to share it with the rest of humanity, not to keep it for yourself. I know you can take us to the moon. And it became an esoteric matter because it's a metaphysical matter to take us to the moon. I don't believe the technology they showed us took us to the moon.
No.
And I think Kubrick wanted to show us is something off here. It's an esoteric endeavor to take us to the moon. And it's an esoteric elite who hold this technology for themselves. And is connected to esoteric lore and practices. It's the same, two sides of the same coin. If you make esoteric practice into transhumanism and technology that high up or that advanced, that is what I think he wanted to tell us. Yeah, next slide. And you have this character, Jack Parson. They made a TV series about Jack Parson. And this is also a natural link to his A Space Odyssey 2001 movie. And it brings up questions about technology, NASA, transhumanism, and the future, where we are now. With artificial intelligence and technology that can take us very far and even to the metaphysical. And the question what we should do with this technology, how to handle the fact that it's there. And all the problem it can bring. And Parson have a crater on the moon called after him, the Parson crater. The Parson crater. Yeah. Part 3, all road leads to the gold room. And now we will go to the sun room. Because on the tree of life, you have this Sephira number 6 called Tiferet. And Tiferet is the sun. On the other side, you have the Qliphothic tree. It's called Thagirion, and it is also number 6, because this is just the shadow side of the tree of life. So you have the corresponding Qliphots to the Sephira on the other side. So the gold room, the sun room, is Thagirion number 6 on the other side of the tree of life. Next slide. And now we come back to the tarot card again. We have the Fool, 0, and as I told you, the card 13, 14, and 15 equals 42. Death, art, and the devil. And now we are on our path to the goal room. To the goal room, we have 3 paths to the goal room on the Cliffotic tree. And it is through connection 7 to 6. Thagirion is the Clifford number 6, but we can go from Clifford number 7, and we have one path, number 24, and we come to the goal room. And we have a path from the Sephira, the Clifford number 9 to 6 as well, another connection, and that is path 25 on the tree, the dark tree. And then we have the last one, and it is from 8 to 6. And we can see the number 8 is called Samael, and it is path number 26. All those paths lead to the gold room or the sun room. Number 6, Thagirion. 3 paths, 1 connection, Thagirion. Next slide. The first path I want to talk about is the path 24. From number 7, Arab Sarak, to Thagirion, the gold room, the sun room. And this corresponds to card number 13, Death, Nientiel. So if you place all the major arcana cards, tarot cards, on the tree of Clifford, you have these tarot cards connect the connections on the tree of Clifford. And also on the tree of life, because it has the same amount of path, of course. And it says about this path, this tunnel corresponds to Scorpio and the planetary influence of Mars, which is also powered up by Baal, the god of war. This path is associated with death, which could represent change and transformation by dissolving things and reintroduce them into a cycle of birth, death, rebirth. Remember, you have always been the caretaker. As well as the scorpion and the beetle, both symbolic of the black sun and connect with the influence of Thagirion, the sun within. Remember Carl Jung and the Red Book 237, page 237, and the footnote. The vision of death encountered that of the dark jester, crowned with a cap and bells, dancing the eternal dance macabre and the crossroads of the worlds, where witches meet and where the dead can be summoned by the necromancer, the gold room. You have always been the caretaker. So that's the first path leading to the sun room, the gold room. Number 6 on the Cliffotic tree, Thagirion. And you have this famous scene in the movie where he
1,000 memes have been made over it.
Yeah.
And breaking down.
Yeah, breaking down with the axe and
Shelley Duvall's freaking out. Yeah.
Poor lady. And the planetary influence of Mars, which is also powered up by Baal, the god of war. And of course, we will encounter Jack as the god of war. Yeah, then we have the next connection from path from Cliffa number 8 to number 6. Also the gold room. All these 3 paths lead to the gold room or the sun room. And this is correspond with the tarot card 15, the devil. And it goes from 8 to number 6, Thagirion. The tunnel of Anonin connects Samael with the black sun of Thagirion, connecting the astral plane with the solar realm in the heart of the dark tree. This is the path connected with mysteries of sex magic and a woman as a primary initiatrix in the form of the Scarlet Goddess. The devil is a beast, human and god in one. Yak. We meet both the dark god and goddess in the raw aspects, joined in sexual act. Here we meet the Scarlet Goddess Lilith. She is accompanied by a male deity, Baphomet. And we have the devil card, number 15. And I have highlighted Baphomet here, of course, because you all know how this movie ends. Yeah, next slide then. So here I want to point out, of course, the sex magic part. The Scarlet Goddess Lilith. The devil is a beast, human and god in one. Yak, of course. And we meet both this dark god and goddess in the raw aspect, joined in sexual act. She is accompanied by a male deity, Baphomet. And you have the Baphomet symbol, or statue, or demon to the right. Yeah, the next one. And then we come to the last connection to number 6, Thagirion. And that's the art card. And it connect the Cliffa number 9, the moon room with the sun room, number 6, Thagirion. And the card is 14 art. And the tunnel's name is Salim. The tunnel of Salim connects Gamaliel and the astral plane with Thagirion. It is the path between the moon and the sun. It connects male and female, positive and negative, creation and destruction, matter and antimatter, existence and non-being, the gold room, and represent a chemical principle of solve et coagulate, to solve and combine, Baphomet. I come back to that soon. It resembles cremation grounds or burial place, absent of life or any living being, abandoned and dead, occupied only by empty human shells, Indian burial place, the maze. And of course, the gold room or sun room. Yeah, I take the next slide. I want to highlight here, of course, solve et coagulate, to solve and combine, and with Baphomet. This is very important in the end of the movie. We're going to understand why Yak has the position as the Baphomet in the last photo. And here also I connected to the maze and the Indian burial ground, where ghost room and dead people room in a burial cemetery place. Yeah, next slide then. All road leads to the gold room. You have 13 death, you have 14 art, you have 15 the devil in the Major Arcana, equals 42. And all those cards, if you place them on the tree of Clifford, leads to the gold room or the sun room. And that's where Danny has to transform through these forces, through these demons and ghosts and shadows. Yeah, next slide then. So you have the gold room equals the sun room, and it is number 6 on the tree of life, but it is Thagirion number 6 on the Cliffotic tree. And now we are talking about the force that fills up that Cliffa, Now we are not talking about the path here. We are talking about the cliffa in and of itself, the force that fill up the gold room or the sun room. And it is described as such. The demon god of Aeon is Belphegor, the lord of the dead. He is also the spirit of wealth and treasures, and the demon of sorrow. Described in old books of magic as one of the 7 princes of hell. He is believed to seduce men with a vision of wealth, licentiousness, or laziness. And in the Christian tradition, he is the demon of sloth, and one of the 7 deadly sins. The deity mentioned in this legends was an ancient god of the sun, sometimes identified with the Mesopotamian sun god Shamash. Sun room, gold room. I want to mention this again then. We see this elite, ghost elite, demons. He is believed to seduce men with the vision of wealth, licentiousness, or laziness, and is the Christian and in the Christian tradition, he is the demon of sloth.
Mm-hmm.
And now a very important part comes. The initiatory process of Aeon is also represented by Shiva. The image of the conjoined force of Lilith and Samael, signifying the daimon of the shadow self of the initiate. Or they may appear as one being manifested as Baphomet. Lilith and Samael. One being manifested as Baphomet. I hope you was with me there. It was a little hard to pronounce it.
No, we get it.
Good. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Hard word. All right, next slide.
Oh, look at that post.
Yeah.
For those
Jack
who might be listening,
Baphomet.
that's Jack Nicholson as a young guy, 1921. How the movie ends, and yes, his pose is just like our friend, right?
Yeah, he's posing as Baphomet with one hand down towards the ground and one up towards the air. And I want to highlight this Baphomet, this combination of Lilith and Samael. The combined forces of them becomes Baphomet. And we have also a date, 1921, and I will come to that soon. Okay, part 4, July the 4th, 1921.
All right. Vince, can you take over the slides? I gotta let the cat out. I'll be right back.
Yeah, part 4, shadows in the gold room. So let's go to the sun room. Next slide, yeah. You have this date on the card, July the 4th, 1921. If you do a very easy numerology, you got 7 plus 4 plus 1 plus 9 plus 2 plus 1 equals 24. And Jack is number 24. And 24 is a palindromic number of 42. So you have 24, 42. And 100% pure gold is 24 karat gold, as it doesn't include any traces of other metals. And 2 plus 4 equals 6. Sephira Tiferet, 6, the sun room, or Thagirion on the Cliphotic tree. And 24 correspond to the tarot card 13, Death, Nientiel. I show you this free path, all leading to the sun room or gold room. So Jack is number 24 and Danny is 42. And there are mirror numbers or palindromic numbers. Next slide. On the Baphomet symbol, you have two words, one on each arm, solve and coagula. Solve et coagula is a very famous alchemical motto. And remember that Jack has the same posture as Baphomet on this card in the end of the movie. Next slide. Solve et coagula is a maxim or motto of alchemy, which means dissolve and coagulate. It means that something must be broken down before it can be built up. One interpretation of this saying is to dissolve the body and build up the spirit. Danny, it means that something must be broken down before it can be built up. And of course, Danny is the one who has to be broken down. Jack is the force that Danny must overcome in order to transform from a broken body, lead, and into a spirit of gold. Jack dies because Danny defeats him. Jack is 24, death. Danny mirrors him and defeats him, life. And he becomes number 42. 24, 42. And 2 plus 4 plus 4 plus 2 equals 12. Room 237 equals 2 plus 3 plus 7, 12. And also room 237 is 2 times 3 times 7 equals 42. So Jack is the mirror or the shadow Danny has to defeat in order to transform into number 42. And it is a mirror number or a palindromic number of 24. So now we come back to the card. I just want to mention it. So there you have the formula, solve et coagula, to break down the body and to transform the spirit to become something new through struggle or the hard work. And in this case, Danny has to defeat Jack. Yeah, the next one. And you see the Baphomet encodes the moon and the sun as well. You see the moon and you see the torch on Baphomet's head, of course, a sun symbol. So you have both the sun and the moon in Baphomet. You have the pentagram in his forehead. You have both the feminine and the masculine attributes. Lilith and Samael in one. And the moon and the sun, Sephira number 6 and 9 equals 15, equals the devil, the card number 15 in the Major Arcana, the devil. The moon and the sun room, Lilith and Jack equals 15. Equals 1 plus 5 equals 6. Jack is 24, equals 2 plus 4 equals 6. Danny is 42, 4 plus 2 is 6. They mirror each other. They are, Danny becomes what he is because of Jack, through Jack. Next slide. So Jack is Baphomet and the devil. Jack is defeated by the devil and becomes the devil. Danny defeats the devil, Jack, and transforms to 42. And that's the fool's journey. That's the room 237, and 2 plus 3 plus 7 equals 12. 2 times 3 times 7 equals 42. And 42, a fool's journey. Okay, you're on your own. This is also for, I cannot swear that Kubrick wanted to say this, but I feel that it is important for him, and maybe it is my own thinking as well, but take it for what it is.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. They live in denial. You're on your own. It is the fear that keeps them from living. You are the living. Cognitive dissonance is a cognitive dissonance from life. You are life. Next. To conquer your fear is to take back life. And with the number 11, the magic force, you will rise and others will fall. It will be victims on the floor, and this power will come at you with everything it got. If you want to defeat this power, you have to go back in time, deep into the mental maze of humanity, and understand where it all went wrong. And you will shine, not because you want to, but because you have to. And there are more, but I think I have decoded The Shining, but I can go even deeper into it. There are connection with Mithra esotericism. There are connection with the Wizard of Oz, as I mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And I have decoded the movie, and I haven't seen it put together. So if you want to, and if Miguel wants to, you can just tell me. I have done it on a lecture here in Sweden. There are more details.
Yeah, for the future, for sure.
Yeah, just tell me.
As long as Vance has a pun with Kubrick, I'm game. Let's keep going with the Kubrick vibe.
Kubrick's cube?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
More details in the left-hand path. We can go into more connections. Mm-hmm. We can talk about MK Ultra and connection with the Clockwork Orange. Connection with 2001: A Space Odyssey, as I mentioned before, with transhumanism and technology. Connection with Eyes Wide Shut. And of course, the transhumanistic part of it, the technology and combine the esoteric lore and traditions. And I think we are in that world right now. An esoteric elite are trying to domesticate us through technology.
It's so obvious. I still can't believe people are in denial about it, but whatever. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's the reason why I talk about the cognitive disconnect.
Right.
People seem so much asleep, and I think Kubrick felt the same. You cannot reach them, and but I think we have to. Mm-hmm. We have to wake up as a race for what's coming. And I think that's the main goal for Kubrick, was to wake up people. That he wanted to take us into this maze. He wanted to shake us. But you cannot tell people up front, you know how it all goes. I don't have to mention it. You have to engage people. You have to make them curious. You can only hope for the best.
Right. Exactly.
I have decoded The Shining. but there are more. And if you're up for it, I can come back 23rd of May, 42 years from The Shining, and I can talk a little bit more about it if you want.
There you
And that's
go.
the end of the movie, and you see
Yeah.
Jack as Baphomet,
Baphomet, yeah.
and you have the date. And of course, it can be more symbol in this photo. I don't know about why this photo could be. Yeah. So I don't know all, of course, but I think I decoded the main part of the narrative, The Shining.
Yeah, that was incredible. Thank you very much. A lot of hard work. And yeah, this is exhaustive. And yeah, I have no problem jumping on the 23rd for another live one. And then in the future, let's, when you have done your research, let's do more Kubrick and, like you said, all these other movies and how they are interrelate from his corpus. So I can't get enough. I want to watch The Shining again.
Yeah,
exactly. New eyes.
Good commercial here.
Even though I've already watched it like 20 times, at least in my life. So what do you think, Vince?
Oh, it's fascinating. So many connections. I got a million questions, but we won't have time for them today. Thinking about the Dr. Sleep sequel too.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much. Yeah. Do you think they built anything into that? Did you see any esoteric connections in there?
Yeah, but more a connection to Clockwork Orange, really. Strange enough. And I can talk about Clockwork Orange for another time.
Yeah.
A Clockwork Orange is very dark. Details. Kubrick had many details people are missing. And some details point to what's happening today. And strange enough, Dr. Sleep have those details in it. They are talking about draining energy and from that.
Yeah. Plus, there's always going to be a difference between Kubrick's The Shining and King's The Shining. Two different mythologies almost. And I know in Dr. Sleep, the creator tried to synchronize them, but you can't really. Yeah, they're different mythologies and messages.
Yeah. And Stephen King are interesting.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Lawnmower Man. A lot of esoteric lore in there as well. But I think Kubrick just used the book as a backdrop for his story.
Yeah, for his own messages.
Yeah, for his own messages. And for me, I haven't read the book, but I mean, if you only view The Shining as a movie, it's very good. When you start to understand what Kubrick really tried to tell you, it's amazing work done, and amazing filmmaker, I have to say.
Amen.
Absolute best.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing this. Again, I will have an audio version, but it'll be just as good because you do a good job of describing. It's thorough, and we definitely look to some more of this. The audience had some great conversations, had their own insights, and maybe we can get to some questions.
I really hope they have had a good time.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry for the English, but when you don't, I'm not talking so much English now, so you forget the words.
You speak better English than our last two presidents. I'm not worried. You speak better English than Trump or Biden. So he's the leader of America. So you're fine.
That's also always a comfort.
Yeah. Or maybe Americans are just doomed. I don't know, but no, you did a great job, David, and we really appreciate it. So we better wrap it up, and again, we will have replays of this. We'll get together for more of this Kubrick awesomeness. Vince, thanks for keeping us company, and
Yeah,
Being the
and if
caretaker,
you
you have always been the caretaker of AB Live.
I'm back
Good.
here,
That's nice.
man in the back room there.
Yeah.
But and if Vince had the questions, we can take them next time on
Yeah, it'll be a
23rd
good
of
sync.
May.
Yeah, we'll get together after this interview and schedule and everything else. So, but
I
David,
hope the
thank you very
audience
much.
liked it. I hope the
Yeah,
audience liked it.
they enjoyed it, and so will everybody.
Nice. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you,
all
David.
Of
Have
Bye-bye.
a good weekend, and everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being yourself. And heresy shouldn't be this much fun, and neither should Kubrick. So, take care, everybody, and we shall talk hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Bye.